so it's not for kids.
I was just thinking, like, actually beforehand, because I was remembering that you spend a while, like, warming up. You have your cold open. And I was like, I've got absolutely nothing for your banterous cold open. But then,
oh really?
The word banter. This might have. I'm worried that I actually talked about this on the last podcast, and if I did, I'm really sorry, and you can just get rid of this. But at my school, they banned banter. They banned
banter.
Banter was banned at my school. There was a big assembly, all the students in one room. Head teacher came up to the front and he said, "Boys," because I went to an extremely cursed all boys school. He said, "Boys, right. Banter is banned," and everyone thought it was really, really funny. But it is also the most like UK coded thing to happen in a school ever, I think. Like putting it's got restriction and it's got the word banter in the same sentence.
Yeah. How do you enforce that? What was meant by that? I'm having trouble picturing.
I think it was more of like, it was meant to be, we were, children and stupid. And so we just thought it was really funny. But I think the actual context for it is really sound and really actually quite good, which is that in the UK especially, and I just think broadly, people will do something that is like racist or homophobic or broadly bad, and they'll be like, "Oh, mate, it's just banter," and they'll just pass off like quite harmful stuff as banter. And I think the idea of what our head teacher was trying to say was that he's banning like just passing things off as banter. But for us as the students, it sounded like the comedy police were going to shut down everyone's incredibly tasteless jokes.
And it turns out Ricky Gervais was in that classroom. That's
a dark origin story. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is the most like, because I really like the first, like the UK Office. It's so fucking good. And it's just so dispiriting and sad to see the little troll-like man that he's become over the years. It's so depressing. I actually sampled some American game shows when I was over there most recently, and I watched some Jeopardy, and there was one guy just absolutely cleaning up, and then I realized that's how it works, and it wasn't just one freak episode. The guy was just on an absolute roll. And then I watched Family Feud, and I didn't realize how Family Feud is kind of a thing of beauty. I found it like absolutely entrancing that it's like a game show that like hates itself and is like falling apart constantly. And I didn't realize, I didn't know that. And just watching everyone involved, it was something about it. The vibe is so weird. It's so unlike anything else I've ever watched. I thought it was a thing of great beauty. It's the 9th, 8th, 12th, whatever wonder of the world. It was incredible.
That's such a great take for Family Feud. I've grown up watching that show. I love it every time it comes on. Like the years of Steve Harvey hosting that show, it's the same fucking thing every time, is that he goes up to someone, asks a sexually provocative question, and then they go like with the obvious thing, naked grandma, and then every time he goes like, "You can't say that on TV, we're gonna get canceled," and then he's like, "Show me naked grandma," and it's like ding, and it's always on the board, and it's like, what? Like they know what they're doing, but it's like so funny how he has to always play it as if he's like never heard the word sex before, like every time it happens.
It's so good. The difference that I found with, maybe it was this particular episode or maybe it's just Family Feud as a whole, but he just seemed so like he was expecting it and like he was done, and he just looked like he hated being there and doing anything. It was so, I've never seen a host have such a dislike for their own show. And the only part of it where he seemed to genuinely kind of start to enjoy himself was when there was another man called Steve on one of the family's teams, and he just really bonded with Mirror World Steve. For like the second half of the episode, he was just like, "Steve, what are you talking about?" And Steve would say something like, "I love having a big plate of food," and Steve Harvey would be like, "Yeah, man, I love that."
he's like, yeah.
So odd.
Yeah, It's really funny.
It's one of the most surreal viewing experiences of my life.
It's crazy that like people actually walk away with money from that show, but I mean, it's like a cultural icon for sure. I'd say it's one of the most like American, like you said, it's our Eiffel Tower as far as wonder of the world, no, the Eiffel Tower is not a wonder. It's our Great Pyramids.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's your Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Okay, well, since you're Kenny, I also thought it'd be great if you could do your best attempt at an impression of Kenny as you read us into, like, you know, what this even is.
Yeah,
it's
I
probably
like
about
it.
Time.
Welcome to Shelf Stable, a podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your host, Tom Brewster.
And I'm your other host, Tom Bowers. Today, it's Double Tom Week. Our feature topic is how to make money as a board game review guy person. How does Tom do it? How do people do it in general?
Yeah, and I'm making, like, rest assured, I'm making so much money as a board game review guy.
There's a lot to be had.
I eat pound coins for breakfast. That is my luxurious life that I'm living.
But before we, dive any deeper into that, we just want to talk about some of the stuff that we've been playing recently. Go ahead and lead us off, Tom.
This week, last week, recently, Tom, other Tom, I have been playing Mexica. Shut up and sit down, listeners. Might already know that I'm a big Mexica head. Mexica, by the way, designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, published by Rio Grande Games, although I was just gifted the nice yellow version with the chunky stone temples by my friend Ben. Thank you so much, Ben.
Oh, they're made of actual stone, or are they plastic?
They feel like they're made of stone. They've got like a kind of crunchy texture to them, and they're definitely not plastic. The Rio Grande versions are plastic, and they made me really sad. But the Iello versions, oh baby, they are quite something. This is a game that's in that Mask trilogy from Kramer and Kiesling, alongside Tikal and Cuzco, both of which I've played and I don't like as much as Mexica. Mexica is my beloved. I return to it often. I guess the main thing I want to point out about this is it's sort of like a game in which you're doing a bit of area control, but you kind of define the bounds of the areas you're controlling with these canals that you put on the board. So like you need to divide up this island into lots of different sections, and then you need to have the most temple power in each of those individual sections in order to get points and win. But the thing that I want to point out about it that the other games do, but games broadly don't do as well as this, or maybe I want more games to do this, is that Mexica is this game where you're like trying to do area control, but you are like a physical piece on the board. You're not like an omnipotent city building guy who like hovers above the board and does cool things with territory. You have this little piece that you move around the board in order to build these temples, in order to do these canals, and people can like block you off. They can get in your way. They can like make you take a long time to get somewhere because they stand on the bridge that you want to go on. And I just, there's something about that just really has me coming back for more. I don't know what it is. It's like, I just think you spend I've played so many games that are like a city builder or a tile layer where you do stuff to a board that sits between the players, but you are not physically represented on the board. And I just love that Mexica has you pottering around on the board itself. It delights me. It delights me so much.
Yeah, I like that a lot conceptually. Almost like if you could play City Skylines, but in order, the video game experience of City Skylines also involved you commuting to work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there were other people who were also commuting to work who would try and sabotage your commute to work. They would get on the bus before you and they would cover your seat in glue. That's the Mexica promise. I really, really like it. And I want it to come back in a format that is somewhere between the two. Because the Rio Grande version that I bought off eBay is like, it's like imagine the Arc Nova box, but like half as deep. So it has this weird size to it, whereas the Iello one is like, it's like a thick game. It's like Tigris and Euphrates with a bit of headroom on it. Both of them are too big for the game that Mexica is. If that makes any sense at all. I'm looking in this document and it says that you've been playing Memoir 44 from 2004.
Yeah, I was just going to lead into that. I was going to say that was Mexica from 2002.
You were going to do it elegantly.
CMYK.
You were going to do it a little like a normal podcast guy. I did it by revealing the Word document that's in front of me that has the games coming up.
Never tell them about the show notes, Tom. Don't you know? It's a secret to everybody. But yeah, I did play recently Memoir 44 from 2004. My man is 44, 4-door. You know that rap?
Yeah, you've got, your bars, you've got spitting.
2 plus 2 is 4, minus 1, that's 3.
Oh, Big Shaq?
Yeah. Yeah, Big Shaq.
Yeah, Big Shaq in the house. He's okay. That is a good one. That is
That's another iconic one.
I think that got too much exposure and it kind of ruined itself by being too ubiquitous and too popular, because I think its actual satire of like UK grime and drill is like pitch perfect, and then everyone just kind of adopted it and it became oversaturated. I saw too much Big Shaq. There should never have been an actual song. It should have just remained that segment. That got me riled up.
We're gonna have to add this to the bibliography that accompanies every episode now. Is like, if you haven't seen this video, like click this link below. But Big Shaq would call it Memoir 44. My man's from 2004 or something like that.
Yeah. That was wonderful. Really good.
Memoir 44, designed by Richard Borg, published by Days of Wonder. This is Baby's first G&T war game, hexagon war game, as I understand it. And I have only ever kind of known it as that. And I might be mistaken, because I understand there's a lot of memoir heads out there to the extent that this is a surprisingly expensive game to get a hold of anymore.
It was made back in the time when you could just like dump an entire bucket of plastic into a game with no recourse. Mm-hmm. Like it does have a lot of really nice little army men. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, and it has these artillery pieces that have like these really long, thin cannon shapes, and those just get bent to oblivion just from being in the box. So I bought this over a decade ago for my youngest brother, who's he's in the National Guard and has always been kind of fascinated by war and World War II. And like when we were growing up, he would watch all the like war movies we owned a ton. Weird thing to say about a person anymore, I feel, these days, but it's just kind of is the case. Yeah, big war fan he is, but I don't think he's a fan necessarily of what actually happens in war, right? But there's definitely a lot of cool language to war, I would say. I think it like entices people to make games about it, because GMT's entire lineup is built off of like the success of sort of like introducing people to these campaigns and skirmishes and whatever else, and the technicalities of it are seemingly what is so interesting, right?
Yes.
But Memoir 44, I think, attempts to simplify the complexities of these cardboard war games and make it more approachable for the average person by sort of reintroducing the age-old concept of draw a card, play a card, essentially. Every action you take in the game is just a card-driven action, and there's a bit of randomness to it that I think some people, myself included, find sort of frustrating and not particularly exciting to play one card at a time, and you're only activating like one zone at a time. You don't always have access to be able to activate the zone you want. Stuff like that is frustrating in its limitation, but I do think it does a good job overall of sort of bringing people into this larger war game world, as I understand it. Have you played this?
Yeah, and it's been a while since I similarly have. I have a friend who is big into the concept / language of war, but not actually doing war. Military history is what we're trying to say, probably. He likes military stuff. I play this with my friend who is into military stuff broadly, and he really, really likes it. I similarly really do get on with it. I think that there's something about the way in which that card-driven system, you're right that it can be frustrating when you don't have the right card to play at the right time. But I think that it kind of builds into this kind of amorphous strategy consideration of like banking a whole bunch of cards for one zone so that you can feel like you can really push a section when your opponent might still be defending it in a kind of random way. Like if you're just playing out, like you can have these kind of setup turns where you say, I actually really need to act on my right flank right now. But if you don't have something to follow that up, you're just kind of trusting in the card draw. And I think there's something kind of nice about building to these like crescendo sections of the game where you can play like 3 cards in a row. The thing that I think is so smart about it is the way that it like makes you think in both the strategic and tactical space. I've still got this in my collection because I just think there's something about it that's so military, and the concept of war being kind of weird catnip for dudes. I don't know if that's if that's too much of a stretch, but like there's something about a game that has a whole bunch of little tiny plastic soldiers on a board that I feel like I need one of them in my collection. And it's not going to be Twilight Imperium because I'm not playing that game like ever these days. So I guess it's going to be the Little Army Men on a board game. I'm glad you played Memoir 44, even if you found it to be slightly mid ?
Yeah, I think the main problem is that I'm simultaneously not good at this game, and I've graduated from this game. In the sense that I'd rather play something like Twilight Struggle.
Sure.
I think the mechanics of Twilight Struggle are much, much more interesting, dynamic, and intense in sort of the way that the actions on your turn feel compared to Memoir. But Memoir is a nice entry point, easy game to get non-gamers or gamer-adjacent people really into. And apparently it's so good at that my brother's friend who played this with him one time just went out and bought like the only expansion he could find in a store pretty much instantly, which I think is very funny.
That is good. That's good stuff. That's a really like that is a compelling pitch for a game. Playing it once, then immediately going out and buying an expansion. It's got to be cooking something fierce for that to happen.
But yeah, that's Memoir 44 from 2004. I noticed you've been playing something that does involve some wooden figurines on the board.
Hexagons.
And hexagons.
It doesn't have any cards. And as far as I'm aware, it has no artillery. There's like a 20 questions for your audience. Terra Mystica from 2012. Designed by Jens Drogemuller and Helge Ostertag. Published by Feuerland, Spiele, and like a whole bunch of other publishers. Like so many publishers seem to have this game.
And it's getting like a new Kickstarter reprint by someone.
I was literally just about to mention this about how much I loathe it. How much I want that Kickstarter gone. Have you seen, it's a real look how they massacred my boy situation. Like there's something about specifically the move to put stickers on the wooden pieces just makes my skin crawl. It just feels so wrong. Like Terra Mystica is such an evocative game when it's like splayed out on the table, but also like has a kind of abstract, playful chunkiness to it that they've just gone like, add more detail to make it better. And it doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. It makes it way worse. It makes it way tackier. It's sad. I'm not a fan.
I think it works for like Agricola or something where you can make the animals cuter by stickering the cow print colors to the sides, stuff like that. But I think Terra Mystica, part of the appeal, at least for me, is sort of that like 90s Magic the Gathering aesthetic that it had. Yeah. And I do feel like that is absent in that reprint.
It is the the vibe of Terra Mystica is impeccable. The specific faction artwork is that perfect, like, kind of crusty fantasy that I'm so in for it. It kind of like, we were potentially going to talk about Wizard on this podcast because I've been playing that recently, and I think that I'd say that Terra Mystica's artwork is a whole lot better than Wizard's artwork. But there's something about that. It's in the same sphere to me of like kind of strangely hallucinatory, choose your own adventure style fantasy artwork that just really gets my brain going. Although Wizards is substantially worse and substantially funnier. Terra Mystica's is just good. And the box is great. Yeah. It's this blue obelisk that you whack on the table. There's no insert in that thing. It's just cardboard and wood. And that's it. And it's just, oh, yeah.
And it is heavy. It's like a good 20 pounds. Probably less than that, but over
you could
10, I want to say.
Crush a lot of small animals with it if you wanted to. One after another. It's a good idea for a bonus bit feature for Shut Up and Sit Down, actually. I'll pencil that in. Tom crushes an ascending number of different small creatures with the Terra Mystica box until he gets to one that's too big to crush. People would watch that, I think. People would love that. They'd be queuing up. Terra Mystica is great. I was going to say it needs no introduction. Does it need some introduction? Do I need to talk about the vibe of Terra Mystica?
It is like a 13-year-old game, believe it or not. But at the same time, it continues to hold its position in the top 100. Why do you think that is, that it has this hold over like the board game geek community broadly?
There's something about, like, I taught it to a friend recently, and I was kind of amazed at how comparatively easy it was to teach and how immediately the person sitting across from me was clicking into the strategy of it. It's like it's such a smooth transition from what is this beautiful, ornate, gorgeous thing into actually playing it. And I think that contrasts quite sharply with a lot of Eurogame design today. Like, it's immediately very confrontational, but also has the capacity to be quite passive if you are so inclined. Whereas I feel like a lot of contemporary Euro design is just very much like, look at your own spreadsheet. Terra Mystica kind of forces you to get in each other's way. And there's something about the kind of shared board infrastructure. It's again, a lot of these Eurogames have you visit this kind of central board in which you do something over there, but then maybe a lot of the action is contained on your personal player board or something like that, or it's just an action space to go and move a track up. I love that Terra Mystica has this shared geography in the center of the table, and that's something that I adore in basically any game, is building up a landscape with the people around the table. Terra Mystica does it so well, and does it in such a pretty way with those chunky pieces as well. And I guess it just has a lot of strategic depths to plumb, right? People are still going strong playing it semi-competitively.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of, like, you can get as much or as little out of this game as you want playing it. I do like that you said it's like comparatively easy to teach. Like, yeah, I'm picturing this compared to Arc Nova, for example, a game I love to pick on. And there is like a simple elegance where it's just action selection. You have to balance your resources and make investments in things that will get you more resources to take more actions next turn, etc. And so it's very straightforward in a lot of regards that these newer designs are purposefully trying to be inventive or creative, shall we say. Yeah. And this is so old school in that sense. And even kind of like shout out to the fact that the board stays, it's one fixed board, right? As opposed to a modular random setup. And so my understanding is that there are like some opening moves, probably tier list for factions out there for the strategy heads. And that is great and wonderful. One day I'd love to, maybe when I'm retired, I'll like dive more into that because I'm fascinated, but I just don't have the time, you know?
Yeah. There's something, any game where you can tier list the factions is something I'm almost immediately interested in playing. And I don't know. I really enjoy the parts of Terra Mystica where when you start the game, it starts pretty peaceful or non-interactive when you build up next to each other, because oftentimes those starting scenarios will kind of set you quite close to each other, and you get to build out those trading posts that are cheaper when you build next to people. And then there's this point at which the game kind of quite naturally turns on its head, where players stop this nice kind of bucolic, gentle, we're just building next to each other, and they start seeing those opportunities to get in each other's way by terraforming stuff when they have the resources to do so, and also those like shared actions on the bottom of the board and just sniping them out from under people. As soon as you realize how big a consideration that timing is in the game, it's almost already too late, and you're screaming at your opponents for taking the build a bridge action when it's the only thing you need this round. It's great. It's so good. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. It's just this perfect game.
It's funny because I think the last time I had played this, the person I played it with, I believe, was Taylor, and she was very unimpressed with it overall. But hearing you glaze it has sort of rejuvenated it for myself, where I'm like, yeah, this game actually, like, maybe I was sort of under appreciating it, because I think part of me was almost like, maybe I should just get rid of this. I never end up playing it, but now I'm like, no, I should force people to play this with me a little bit more, at least before I finalize that decision. The last thing I want to maybe say about this potentially is that I'm realizing it shares some of its DNA with things like Everdell with Root, interestingly, and so I thought it could be fun. Quick March Madness style bracket: Terra Mystica versus Root. Who are you voting for?
Terra Mystica.
Ooh, you heard it here first, folks. All right.
I think that's what I'm doing, which may surprise people because they might think that I am a huge Whirly head, but of Whirly's designs, Root is lower in the pecking order than many others. So I'll keep my Terra Mystica for now, and then maybe when it faces like Oath, I'll have a harder decision to make. Yeah,
see, this is something you get on our show. I don't think you get on the Shut Up and Sit Down show. You'd be too scared to admit to the Root heads out there that
to the Root fans. I'd be too scared of jeopardizing my Leader Games paycheck.
All the dark money in board game reviews.
That's in the second half of the show. It's
right.
Get an incredibly lucrative secret sponsorship by Leader Games and Cole Whirly personally, and you'll do just fine.
I just love the idea that Cole is like bribing you, like, to talk nicely about his games. Like, that's what he needs.
Every time I see him at PAX Unplugged, I'm like, get your wallet out, and he gives me a crumpled fistful of $20. He's like, there you go. Be nice about the Oath expansion, please.
Oh, that's good.
That's how it works.
All right. Well, that, I think, sums it up. Terra Mystica from 2012. I've played... We're really hitting like the old ones this episode, which is great. Something I apparently never do when it's just Kenny on the show. But I played another game from 2002. So pre-2010 is not that rare, but like it's notable.
Yeah, we're in the ancient past.
Yeah. Bang from 2002. All caps with an exclamation mark. Designed by Emiliano Sciarra and published by DV Games. Bang! The classic whip out your guns, shoot each other till someone is dead. You have secret ally ships. Stuff is happening. It's a party game. It's a social game. I don't like this one very much, even today.
Yeah, I can sense that in your pitch for it being it's a game where you shoot people, basically.
Yeah. Have you've played this, I assume?
I don't think I have. I've played a lot of the other sort of... It's a social deduction game to some extent? Or is it fully a social... Is it social deduction or is it just vibes?
Yeah, so to get into it a little bit, someone is always the sheriff, and there are secret roles handed out to the rest of the players so that everyone knows who the sheriff is because, they're the big guy in town, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else gets either outlaw, renegade, or deputy. Basically, the outlaws win as a team if the sheriff dies. The sheriff and the deputy win if the outlaws die. And the renegade wins if they're the only person left standing.
Okay.
So that's the game. And then turn over turn, you draw a couple of cards, and then you get to play as many cards as you want. And the cards have a lot of variance in terms of what they can do. But the core of it is that there's these bang cards that kind of let you shoot someone who is in range. So you can't always shoot exactly who you want. So it's the chip taking game with some obfuscation set in. I don't know, but if you haven't played this, it might be hard to speak to. But I could explain why I don't like it that much, but I was hoping maybe you had a counter opinion on it, possibly.
I can try my best.
But it sounds like you haven't played it at all.
Yeah, but you know what? I can give it a go. I can give it a try.
Okay. So why do you love this game so much?
I just really like the shoot.
You like the fact that it's bullet-shaped box? That's probably
I like the fact that it's bullet-shaped box. I like the fact that the cardboard chits say bang on the back of them. There's so many pictures of this game on Board Game Geek that's just like old flash photography of like people playing it with their family. I can't bring myself to dunk on it. Look at all this joy that exists.
Yeah.
People had such a nice time shooting. Oh my goodness, there's like custom bang characters based off of Deadwood. I don't know what Deadwood's a show.
Yeah.
That's what I like about Bang. I found it. The Bang community, bangers worldwide, love this game.
Yeah. Thumbs up this podcast if you're a real banger.
If you're a real banger. Also, this box isn't shaped like a bullet. This box is shaped like a square, like a normal box.
Yeah, so there is a special edition of this. I don't know if it's of Bang or if it's Bang the Dice game that does have a bullet-shaped box in particular. And this is a game that's also has a lot of like re-implementation. It looks like there's a Halo version, which actually sounds kind of incredible. I'm not gonna lie.
Bang.
I think that this game's strongest selling point is that it is very approachable, family friendly. Like it is something you can break out with just about anyone. It works really well at a bar scene. And it's just a way to like interact, socialize, argue with each other, say like, don't shoot me, I'm on your team, blah, 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 blah. Like, and it's just enough of that to go around. But there's its age, I think, really shows in terms of its design. It, not only can you sometimes just sort of be stuck on a turn where all the cards you've drawn offer you literally zero utility, but then on top of that, there's literally a lose a turn effect called jail. And it's like a 1 in 4 chance lose your turn effect. Just stuff like that I think is cinema. Yeah. Obviously there's drama to it and there's dynamic engagement that are sort of innate, but I just find it a little tired and just turns go round and I don't feel like I have much of anything interesting to do. Every move I take is very obvious. And so I don't find it super fun.
I feel as though it feels like taking off my Bang defending cap. It does feel like a game that's kind of maybe been left behind at this point. Like I don't see it getting played at game conventions much. And I feel like if people want that kind of immediate, snappy kind of quasi social deduction fare, then there's plenty of that to go around.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly has usurped this, but like Secret Hitler comes to mind as one that I think people are vibing with a bit more. But there's nothing that's quite just like going around shooting each other. Although there are games that do this.
Yeah, I played Western Legends quite recently.
I've only never heard of that.
Oh, it's like a sandbox kind of cowboy game where you can pursue whatever you want to do in the Wild West, live your own cowboy adventure, but really the things to do are like, go mine some gold, gamble at a casino, or like shoot each other, or like move a cow painstakingly across the board. Just something about you saying the kind of like the dynamic between having sheriffs and outlaws. There's that in Western Legends as well. You have players that are moral good boy players, and you have nasty guys going around shooting each other. And there was something.
But do they decide that for themselves, or is that assigned to them at random at the beginning?
you determine it over the course of the game. You can become an outlaw by engaging in PvP, or you can become good by like defending someone. I guess I can't exactly remember.
Look, I was gonna say, can everyone just sort of like, I'm going to go outlaw now, and then it's just everyone at the table is trying to be an outlaw?
Just a kind of Western Legends sort of like skirmish game at that point. Yeah, you can definitely do that if you wish. There was something like when I played it with Shut Up and Sit Down, my colleague Matt, and when we were playing it most recently, Matt said he was going to turn me into the sheriff, because the sheriff is like a piece that you can just move around the board, and Matt had the ability to move the sheriff. He said he was going to move it into my space because I was an outlaw, which would have cost me some time in jail and some money. And I said, if you do that, I'm going to beat you up. And then he did it. And then I spent my whole next like 2 entire turns just following around and punching him in the face. And Western Legends has a real, like, once you start losing, you have to use cards in combat from your hand to defend yourself in combat. So if you're out of cards, everyone knows they can just punch you for free, which gives you like outlaw points. And so I kind of started a strange domino effect of everyone just going to this gulch and beating the living daylights out of Matt. And then he'd limp back to town. He'd go to the doctor. Then he'd stumble back out again, and someone would just biff him some more. It was very funny. And I want more of that in games.
Just almost like he's like an ATM for something. Yeah. Everyone can just hit up. That's really good.
It was good. It was good stuff. It did go on for way too long. I don't think Western Legends is the best game in the world, but it did really make a big table of people laugh quite a lot. So maybe you should get that instead of Bang. Sorry, Bang heads.
Yeah, try that one out for size. See if the town ain't big enough for 2 games. Bang and
Way.
But yeah, so not a lot of positive things to say. What else can I say about Bang? Really, it's a game. It's from 2002.
It fits the remit of your podcast.
There you go.
100 games to play before you die.
That's right. It's the part of the podcast where we talk about the 100 games that you are required to play before you kick the bucket or turn 100 years old, whichever comes first. And we got 10 days countdown for a certain legendary actor who once did the world's worst Cockney accent in a movie. He's got 10 days to round the corner on that, as it turns out. So
what the hell are you talking about? What is this? What is going on?
Yeah, I can't say his name because we have created superstition around this, that people that we talk about in this segment end up dying because it happened to Jimmy Carter, who was about to turn 100. So there's an actor,
okay,
but he was in Mary Poppins, and he had a Cockney accent in that film. I'm pretty sure he's an American. He might be a Canadian.
Okay. I'm looking at him now. You know who I'm talking
about now?
I now know who you're talking about. Okay. And wait. And this is then a segment that's targeted at this guy.
Well, because his 100th birthday is on December 13th this year. So he's got 10 days left to play all these games, because the list is called games you have to play before you turn 100. Game number 56 on this list is Cosmic Encounter from 2008. Well, not really. That's the more recent version. This game goes all the way back. Hold on. When did it actually come out?
Yeah, Cosmics is it's ancient history.
It is an ancient game. It originally came out in 1977. It has 4 credited designers: Bill Eberle, Jack Kittredge, Bill Norton, Peter Olotka, and Kevin Wilson. That's 5 people, actually.
Wow.
I don't know enough about the history of Cosmic Encounter to tell you who introduced what, but Cosmic Encounter from 2008 is on the list. And we don't have Kenny to tell us why Cosmic Encounter is one of the 100 games that you must play before you turn 100. So filling that role, Tom Brewster, would you mind explaining why this game's on the list?
This is actually so fitting because I played Cosmic Encounter like a week or 2 ago for the first time in like a very, very long time. And I remembered why I still have it, why I love it, why I will keep it forever. This game's so good.
This actually is perfect. Oh, wow. Okay.
It's so good. We played a game where my friend Peter, who brought the game to a little gathering. For those who somehow don't know, it's Cosmic Encounter is a game where you play different kinds of aliens having a big fight in space. It has a bunch of strange systems going for it. Like, you don't choose who you fight on your turn. You just pull it from a big deck of cards and it says, you're now fighting this player. And you go, okay, I guess so. Even if you're in some kind of informal alliance with them. It's got a card combat system that is completely balance agnostic. You just draw a bunch of cards from this deck, which range from like 3 to like 40, or even not even 3. They can be minus values or 0 or whatever. There's whatever. And then you fight each other by playing cards, and there's diplomacy, but all of it's wrinkled by these weird alien powers that everyone gets. And speaking of, my friend Peter was basically saying how he has to teach this game to new people all the time, so he only ever plays the green aliens, which are like the standard difficulty aliens that aren't too complicated to comprehend. And so he said, I'm hype. Let's have everyone pick from either an orange or red each. And so we got dealt out our orange and red aliens. And then 2 players, myself and my friend Ben, played as red aliens, and we had a combination where I had the power to multiply my card by the number of ships I sent into a conflict. So I was rocking up into every single conflict with an absurd amount of power. And Ben had the ability to basically make it his turn every single turn whenever he wanted. He could just keep having turns until... Well, I was going to say until someone stops him. It was until his hand ran out of cards, versus normally you only get like 1, maybe 2 encounters. He could just have like 10. And then we just dominated like the first 4 turns of the game were just ours. And we just couldn't imagine any other game in which it would be acceptable for the first like 6 turns of the game to be played by 2 of the like 7 players around the table or whatever. It was bonkers. It shouldn't work. But there's something about the way that it balances itself in this way, because it made everyone absolutely loathe us, and the player politicking around the table then just became, we need to stop these 2 factions, fittingly called the robot and the virus, from winning any more territory. And that was their goal, and they achieved it. It was a beautiful act of collaboration between all of them.
Nice.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Cosmic Encounter is so good. Have you played this? I presumed you had.
It's very strange because I think I have, but like you, I imagine, it's been so long that I couldn't really explain to you what makes it so great. I know of its legendary status because I was listening to a ton of interviews with Richard Garfield recently, and we've been reading his book as well. And so he's just been a guy on my mind, shall we say. And in interview after interview, anytime he talks about the origin of Magic the Gathering, this game always gets dropped because it illuminated for him the idea of completely variable player powers, which then gave him the idea of, well, what if every player brought their own game to the game? You know what I mean? And that led to like the deck of cards, as it were, that would become eventually Magic the Gathering.
That is so crazy to like think of that concept of like bringing your deck of cards like that. It seems so ubiquitous and common now as an idea that like building a deck as a thing just seems, it's mad to think that there's almost an origin point for that idea. Because I just feel like I spend so much of my life being like, yeah, that's how card games work. That's how competitive card games work.
Yeah.
It's like it had to come from somewhere.
That. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
mad.
No, but yeah, it goes all the way back to right here, 1977.
Cosmic Encounter.
In the 80s, that's when, Garfield would have been growing up and playing this and D&D a lot. And you can see how it managed to influence and create Magic the Gathering, which I think is really fascinating. But he talked about not liking this game on first try, and it was really the third try that for him changed everything as far as his perspective on it. And I don't tend to subscribe to like a rule of 3 when it comes to giving a show or a book or whatever like a shot. I think if you can't perceive its potential early on, why bother sort of like draining your own time and energy? But this sounds like it might be a bit of an exception, and it really has to do with the way that the variable player powers are so variable. They're literally game breaking, rule bending stuff, and it's not meant to be balanced. It's meant to create these fascinating, exciting scenarios like what you just described. Right.
Yeah, we played, like, in the same evening, we played Cosmic Encounter, and we played Magical Athlete, and we played Oath, which all kind of have... There's some kind of thread between all of them in a way, which is like they're all these... Some kind of level of simulation is going on in all three, of watching these different factors kind of like ping off each other in weird ways. Magical Athlete is like the most simple, like everyone just has a really basic power, and the way you interface with the game is just rolling and moving. Cosmic then dials up your way of actually interacting with the game and lets you do these, unique actions, or you have these powers that actually change how the game is played. The game is more involved. And then Oath is maybe a stretch to include it in this kind of triptych, but it is on the kind of far end of the spectrum, where you have this game in which players are just pulling strings within a sandbox and trying to wrestle it to their desired outcome. But ultimately they're defined by watching. These games are all, to some extent, defined by watching a kind of simulated environment run, and that being more of the enjoyment than necessarily winning or having a kind of personal sense of accomplishment. The game itself is kind of just creating this wonderful thing to observe. Like, no one has ever cared when they've won a game of Magical Athlete, in the same way that I don't think anyone's ever cared when they've won a game of Cosmic, because ultimately it's about the narrative. You can just as easily as feel like you've won a game of Cosmic if you came in last place, but were a great part of the story. And I want that to be in every board game.
Totally. And I think it has a huge place. I think people are coming around to starting to value that about board games more and more. It feels as if it's the design philosophy people are more ready to reach for, because I think people are just sort of seeing the value in how board games can create community and how you can do communal storytelling, right? And that it fosters relationships and builds connections and bridges between people. Kind of like the whole world is a strand type game, and board games are the delivery mechanism for the strands between people. I'm trying really hard to reference.
You're trying really hard to get a Kojima thing, and I respect and applaud it that you were coming close to making a heartfelt point and you turned it into a dig at Hideo Kojima. It's cinema. It's textbook stuff. I love it.
That's what the listeners are here for.
That's what they're here for. Exactly.
All right. Well, enough of that yapping and bullshit. 100 games. Go ahead and play them all if you haven't already. I don't know what you're wasting time listening to our show for. It's time to get into the real meat and potatoes of the episode, the part of the show that people come back week after week to listen to, and that's the main talking point, the main idea, and the topic that we decided ahead of time and really put a lot of effort into, and that is. How do I make money as a board game reviewer? Because I don't know, but you might, Tom Brewster. I, Tom Bowers, am just a co-host on a wimpy podcast that has only just barely got off the ground, it feels like, despite having run it for over a year. But you are a YouTuber with... Does Shut Up and Sit Down have 1 million subscribers by now? They do, right?
No, we do not have 1 million subscribers.
What?
Sadly,
but goals, right?
That's our goal.
Crossed.
By
the time this episode comes out, we'll be there, no doubt.
Yeah, we're gonna become the real Mr. Beast of board game content. That's the Shut Up and Sit Down plan. That's our business model. I've actually got a big picture of Mr. Beast just right in front of my desk. I look at it every day, try and remember, just to center myself and get the cogs whirring.
Yeah, it's like a shrine, like something to worship, to put good luck on your algorithmic success. I love the idea of like, I put 100 people on Terra Mystica Island. Like, will they survive? Like, and it's just, they're playing Terra Mystica in real life somehow. That actually sounds sick as fuck.
I would play the living. That's a, great, if Shut Up and Sit Down had unlimited budget and scope and creativity, real life versions of textbook board games, that would be getting people to play real life Brass Birmingham. We bought a small town and we're turning it into an industrial center. People.
Whoa. That was really good. American accent, I think you just pulled. That hit me by surprise.
I was trying my best. Actually,
that was really good.
Oh, well, thank you. That was, I think, who that actually was Jeff Prost off Survivor. I think that was I think that might be the American I've listened to more than anyone else in the world.
That's fantastic.
That would be such a good twist on, like, everyone's wondering what they're going to do after season 50 of Survivor, what they're going to change. After that, every challenge is a different board game. Would be like they're all caked in mud and sweat and they're tired and they're hungry and then they sit down and have to play Twilight Struggle for the finale. Oh my God. It'd be so good.
That would be like, I would become a Survivor head if they made that change. Well, yeah, so I understand we've talked about this a little bit before the show, but you came in to Shut Up and Sit Down in an interesting way. It's maybe a little unconventional as far as becoming a content creator goes. So what were you doing before Shut Up and Sit Down, and how did you end up with your role on the show?
Before I worked for the site, I literally sort of started doing it immediately after I came out of university. I did about a couple years of doing a series of strange, odd jobs. I was just working whatever I could get. One of the jobs I had was I did curatorial work at a gallery as kind of like as a little wormy little intern who eventually had a small role to play in the gallery scene of where I lived. And I feel like there is some. It was fun. It was actually like there was something really delightful about working with / talking to artists and seeing the ways in which they viewed the world, or hearing about their kind of schemes, what kind of installations they were going to put into this space that we had. Of course, was only a little minor role, but it was delightful to get that insight. And I also think there's something about that world that kind of there's some parity there with board games in the fact that there are these very kind of like strong-willed creators that have their kind of one vision for how their thing should exist. And it's kind of fascinating to pick their brain on how that thing eventually like comes to pass. But then for actually getting into Shut Up and Sit Down, I just did an internship, which is why I feel tremendously underqualified to talk about how to make money in board games or how to do board game reviewing, because comparatively to a lot of other people in the industry who've had to build a following from such as yourselves, from a small start to growing it and snowballing it and turning it into something, I kind of inherited the audience of Shut Up and Sit Down. I've tried my best to carry the torch and continue on, but there is this strange sense of it being something of, it has this legacy that has existed long before I have turned up, which obviously creates its own struggles and questions and all other kinds of things. It is a weird position to be in, no doubt. But it also means that, unfortunately for yourself and your listeners to the podcast, I don't have the answers necessarily for how to make it from the get-go as a reviewer, because it's extremely niche, and I don't even know if necessarily I'm the best person to ask.
Well, I mean, we appreciate your candidness nonetheless. I'm curious about it, with it being something that you basically just get hired in as an employee. What was like the onboarding like for that? Did they make you watch like HR videos or Quinn's or something like, reenacted sexual harassment in the workplace or something like that?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Quinn's are the only people they could get to do them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, the main thing that was actually kind of the most important part of the kind of onboarding onto Shut Up and Sit Down once it was kind of determined that I was going to work for the site full time, was a kind of staggered introduction to the audience in a strange way, which again ties into that whole kind of legacy channel situation, or this long-lasting thing, is that people on YouTube, and just people broadly, they really like tuning into something familiar, something they know they like, something that is consistent, from day to day, or from week to week. And putting a new face into that equation is always going to make some people bristle and be a little unsure. And even though I think we did a pretty good job of like slowly phasing my way into the channel over time, there's obviously still going to be people who then and now are like, this isn't the thing I signed up for. I want the old school stuff back. But I feel like if a channel goes on it's been going for so long now. It's when I joined, it was just about 10 years done. I've been here for about 5 years, I think. So yeah, It's been going for an age. In YouTube terms, right? Like it's not that long, but in the grand scheme of YouTube, it's pretty ancient.
Right. Well, it's survived essentially like the adpocalypse. So many sort of like waves in algorithmic things. I mean, and then
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, it really is. You're coming into like this huge legacy. So I'm sure, at least at first, it must have been kind of intimidating, I'd imagine.
Yeah, very much so. And still is to some extent. Like there is still very much a kind of a sense of the channel, people having different ideas of when it's been in its zenith, in its golden era. There's always kind of been, there's this constant fuzz around when exactly that was/is. And it's really heartening to hear from some people that they really like what's going on now or when I've joined the site. But there's some people who very curmudgeonly stick to this idea that it was good then and it's bad now. And I think that the main thing with the channel is like, that's noise that's kind of quite easy to cut out, I think, broadly. But the thing that has made it shelf stable, is that I don't think it's a channel that is necessarily seeking to have videos that are like big boom videos. We don't chase much at all. We very much driven entirely by what we're interested in and what we want to cover, tempered a little bit with a kind of consistency in always offering something pretty familiar to the audience. We're never going to put out a video that's going to sort of explode and do, millions and millions and millions of views, but we are going to consistently serve something that people are expecting and something that people really enjoy. And that kind of consistency and familiarity is kind of what we've always been seeking for. There's something really comforting and different about the fact that we've built this audience over time that cherishes the thing, which is great. That's what we want.
Yeah, like if anything, people I think are subscribed for the legacy. Like what we want to see as a Shut Up and Sit Down fan myself, it's like what I want to see is just good, high quality, reviews that are like more insightful than just sort of IGN style stapling a number out of 10 opinion by the end of it. And at the same time, maybe just gives me a video or two to like listen to while I try to fall asleep, right? As I feel like the idea though of like having a YouTube channel that gets the privilege of doing whatever it wants as a channel that, now we're going to make a video that talks about John Company, whether it's relevant or not. I think a lot of people, I could be mistaken, but I tend to hang out with people that I think sort of want that. They don't just want algo chasing content that is just trying to be relevant and therefore like phoning it in because there's no passion behind it. Just stuff like that where it's like, well, if you're not even passionate about it, why am I sitting here for like an hour while you recite Wikipedia facts to me? You guys aren't just bringing us the Wikipedia facts, but you are trying to go a little deeper, get into like the emotion of it, I'd say, which is refreshing in this day and age.
I think the only way that that's even like sustainable to do is in the fact that there is no part of it that is sort of automated. Everything that you see in a Shut Up Sit Down video is done by us, in the sense that we play the game a bunch, then we write our script, then we film it, and then we edit it, and then we do the thumbnail and all the trimmings. That is all done by the person who is in the video. Maybe I'll, if I'm away, I'll throw an edit to Matt, who will sort the end of it or whatever, and vice versa. But as soon as you start outsourcing the individual steps along the chain, you then end up in this situation where you can afford to be kind of dispassionate about certain aspects and view it as more of a job and less of something that you're actively passionate about. And that shows in the product, and that shows in the energy that you have, that the finished result will suffer for you not being engaged in every single step of the process, is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And it feels like that kind of algorithmically clicky content is very much of the suffering, because the person is just, they are one part of the production. They are just the person who is doing the presentation to the camera. Everything outside of it is being sorted by the people. So they only need to be engaged in the presentation, not the writing or source material. And that's kind of the delightful thing about the Shut Up and Sit Down, is that because we're engaged in every single step of that, we get to, if something stops working or if we're not passionate about something, then we change how we do it. And that's, I don't know, it means that it keeps the energy going in a way that's rewarding rather than dispiriting and sad.
Right. And I think it's funny that you talk about it in terms of outsourcing, because it's like what you guys have not done is created a process by which you just sort of shed the workload off to various people and just sort of fulfill the role of narrator. I have seen, there's one channel in particular that came to mind where that is essentially what has happened to the face of the channel. And that's Derek from Veritasium. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah,
but
they're very much in that category of like topic video that is. I think he did a video that I might have watched that was like how to do a clicky YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah, well, he actually consulted with Mr. Beast, like in that video, and was like, "Why? How do I create views?" And Jimmy just tells him like, I would call it this, change the title to this, change the thumbnail to this. And then they did that and it worked very well for them. But Veritasium now is almost like a PBS show, the way that it's presented, where it just is like there's a writer or writing staff, I should say, and there's editing staff, and it's clear. Even I don't think they're trying to hide it or anything. Like it's just like Derek just sort of reads from a teleprompter, I assume, and narrates things while a bunch of interns, presumably, or they're probably paid something, actually go about and do the interviews. They do like the research and stuff like that. And it's clear why, because he has like a family and kids, and he needed to make that transition at some point. And I think it makes sense for them. And overall, there's some hiccups there with some of the sponsorship videos they did, but I feel as if they transformed themselves somewhat tastefully.
Yeah, and I think that broadly is kind of an example of like the new or a newer YouTube model of, we are basically going to make a TV show comparatively to a TV show on almost zero budget, even though they are probably paying out quite a lot of money to make them work. But it is this kind of new YouTube model of let's just make something that is almost TV worthy or has TV production value. Whereas I think that there is something kind of classically old school about Shut Up and Sit Down, and that we are still just filming videos in our houses with pretty cheap gear. But we still have to compete on the same platform. So still have to do, how do we make our thumbnails clickier? How do we make our titles clickier? Because the other people...
You're arguing for the same attention as something like Veritasium, which is nuts. And Mr. Beast, not even to mention.
Yeah, there's a huge overlap between Mr. Beast heads and people who want to watch a Ticket to Ride Legacy review or whatever.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's a big Catan guy. He genuinely is actually a big Settlers of Catan, and he likes Dune Imperium.
Dune Imperium in real life would be so good.
Well, it's gonna happen. It's gonna fucking happen. And then we enter into the endless content cycle. Shut Up and Sit Down makes a video called "We Played Mr. Beast's Real Life Dune Game, see what happens." And the thumbnail is me with huffing a load of sand out of a box, and my eyes are bright blue. and then we just constantly regurgitate the content over and over and over again until into infinity. It goes so hard.
If Jimmy Beast reached out to you and he said, "Hey, Brewster, I want to make a show," are you saying yes?
How much money is he paying me?
Right.
Like, I feel like there's actually a really interesting thing where it would question my integrity shaking the hand of Mr. Beast and engaging in video content with him. But there's something really interesting happening at the moment on like some YouTube channels. There's a YouTuber called Jack Saint.
Yeah, I watch him.
He's great. And he recently had a kid and then had this whole debacle where he was like, I've been offered like multiple thousands of pounds to take an AI sponsorship thing. I would really like to do this because I've got a baby and I could really use the money and it's nothing to them and it's everything to me. Should I do it? And he ultimately didn't do it. But all of the comments on that post were like, get that bag, boy. Like, make that money. You can't. And I like to imagine the Shut Up and Sit Down audience would understand that the complete lack of integrity of receiving a Mr. Beast video would be offset by the fact that we would get paid more money than our business is worth.
Right.
And I would reinvest it into, I don't know, who would I reinvest it into? Rodney Smith. I don't know.
There you go. Give some back, right?
Give some back.
You could shower us over here on Shell Stable. There's a little podcast you might have heard of. I know Shut Up and Sit Down has accepted some sponsorships of various ilk. Were there any interesting ones that you guys collectively did have to turn down?
We've turned down, like, we get a lot of emails that are from the kind of typical sponsorship things that you might expect in a YouTube video, right?
Raid Shadow Legends.
I'm almost certain. Right, yeah, like we've had a Raid Shadow Legends, we've had a NordVPN, we've had all of the, you know, the standard row of sponsorships. And I'm sure there is a world in which if we were really struggling, we would take one of those if just to keep the site going. Because that's like a lot of the time when we have done any kind of sponsored content in any form, it is of the interest to make sure the site is sustainable and exists rather than to kind of, you know, increase our bottom line.
Yeah,
you know, to create value for shareholders.
It's a sustainability decision, not an expansion decision. Not an right.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And like we tried to expand in ways that were sustainable and in line with Shut Up and Sit Down as a site. So we had Shucks. Unfortunately, that got absolutely sideswiped by the pandemic. It put a huge hole in the company, and it sucked.
What was Shucks? I feel like
wonderful.
I might have missed it, but it's ringing a bell. I just couldn't tell you what it was.
Shucks is the convention that we have in Vancouver, Canada.
And
then yeah. Turns out running a convention during a pandemic, bad idea. Yeah. And there's also this whole situation with conventions, and this is incredibly like simplifying things, but you start running a convention kind of at a loss.
Yep.
With the hopes that one day you'll hit this boom period and everything will be gravy from then on into infinity. And as you can imagine, we had 2 or 3 years of Shucks, and then we had a pandemic. So there is a degree to which... Yeah, it's a you can do the maths. We then kind of pivoted that into the Shucks thing, which is like a digital convention with the idea that we could keep some of that spirit going and we could keep the site afloat. And then that has now kind of pivoted into the Board Games Direct thing that we did, which I think it kind of makes sense from my perspective to be in a world where we are increasingly, you know, people just have less money in their pockets. It feels like one in which it feels like a more sustainable and more sensible decision broadly to take limited sponsorships where you can, rather than ask people for their money when they might not have it to give. And luckily, Shut Up and Sit Down is at a point where we are relatively sustainable, but we still do rely on that donation income. But where possible, feeling like we can supplement it with things like convention or the Board Games Direct thing or the Shut Up and Sit Down present stuff, so we can almost take some of the pressure off of donors to feel like they need to donate to keep it existing, then that's better, right? And I'd hope that audience could see that when we put out sponsored stuff, it is mostly to make sure that we don't have to feel like every year we have to
do some sort of
kind of ask our audience
sponsor drive. Yeah.
Which we will still do, but our sponsor drives always kind of have this tone, or we try and make them have a tone of, if you can chuck us some money because you have the money to give, then please do. But with the kind of idea that you don't we don't want to make it sound like people have to donate in order to keep the site afloat, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's like it keeps us sustainable if that happens, but we will find ways around it. We'll just sort of tip the balance more and more towards sponsorship if we start running out, if suddenly our donor base disappears, right?
Just start saying things like you guys like our videos without the Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, right? Because we will have to say yes to Raid Shadow Legends if you can't give.
Raid Shadow Legends will exist in every single video from now on if you don't pay me $1 personally.
I love the idea of like holding people hostage just to keep annoying sponsorship reads out. But
yeah, it's such a delicate balance of like trying to make it so that we're taking the right opportunities so that it doesn't feel like we're, you know, in brackets, in quotation marks, selling out. But we also, it's hard to,
you got to make a living somehow.
It's so brutal on those things.
Right.
You got to make a living. And we are in a hugely luxury position being able to do it as a full-time job as well. Like I don't take that for granted. But the way we can do that is by taking kind of these sponsorships that work for us and work for the audience as well. Like we try not to take anything that we don't think would actually be useful to the audience as well to some extent.
Right.
Like Board Games Direct kind of felt perfect for that because ultimately it was a way of people getting to see a lot of games in one go, and we made sure that we picked ones that we were kind of interested in. They weren't just games that we didn't accept every single submission and, you know, put out a bunch of, there were a couple of games that had a lot of AI art in them, and we were like, no, keep that out of the Board Games Direct. We're not just going to be putting stuff in front of people because we need money. We're putting it in front of people because we think they'd genuinely be somewhat interested, and we went and covered and played a bunch of that stuff afterwards. Although that comes with its own integrity questions. It's a whole minefield. Yeah,
there's and recently I guess there's one YouTube creator who maybe shall not be named who seems to have taken a very cynical clickbait rage bait route with the direction of their channel. So I guess wanted to say kudos to you guys for not necessarily going down that path, but if you ever did, I would be the first person to defend you. I'll just say that.
No, please roast them.
Yeah,
I need to be kept in check,
perhaps. So the thing that I'm interested about, as someone who, you know, we are generating a little bit of money. It more or less like is allowing us to make the podcast pay for itself, because we were paying for networked distribution through a service, and by now we are, you know, we're essentially just at an equilibrium with it, where it's not costing us anything except our time, of course. But a part of me would like love to have the podcast be like a more sizable part of maybe my own income, where I, you know, could theoretically like quit my job and dedicate more time to cutting shorts or even making other forms of content that I could upload to a channel, something like that. So what I'm curious about saying all that is like, what are the revenue streams for content creation? Like, I understand you're not necessarily in charge of the business, but I imagine you must know kind of this much percentage wise comes in from viewership, ad revenue on YouTube, AdSense, I think is what it's called. And this much is Patreon dollars and stuff like that, you know? So like percentages, you don't have to give us exact numbers, but like, how does it play out?
The majority of the money that comes into the site is still from a donation basis. And I feel like that speaks to broadly what it's like making board game related content as a whole. I think that it is an industry that is increasingly having more money in it. Like, there are massive Kickstarters happening. There are big sponsorship deals within the board game content creation industry that are now happening. But broadly, I still think that because it is fundamentally a niche hobby, and people who even within board games want to actively consume content about it is even more of a niche, it is something that fundamentally needs to be supported fundamentally by donation. Because it's people who are passionate about their hobby wanting to either spread that hobby or just have really good coverage of it. And so most of the stuff that I would kind of suggest for people who are getting into board game content creation said with a very large asterisk, because I did not set up any of the groundwork at Shut Up and Sit Down for any of this stuff. But I think the reason that it has managed to succeed is a combination of right place and right time, for sure. That is an absolutely massive factor. But also the fact that it has kind of sustained the same audience or listened to that same audience over time and made that audience feel welcome broadly, which I think is stuff that you are already doing. And I think is stuff that people really respect, is feeling like the audience is heard and feeling like the audience is a kind of a safer space is something that I think I'm really proud that we still do on Shut Up and Sit Down as a whole. And I think that on top of that, making sure that people feel like they are directly contributing to something running rather than they're contributing to something and that money is going, where is it going? Who knows? It's just going into this amorphous blob of content. Yeah. Instead, I feel like people who donate Shut Up and Sit Down can very much see that it is going to us directly to keep us going. And I think that is something that is important to maintain, that if you want to sustain a donation-based revenue stream, right, is having people feel like their donation is making an impact on the person's life, which I will say to our audience, thank you so much for letting me do this,
Yeah, huge shout out.
Huge shout out to Shut Up and Sit Down fans. They're so good and generous and nice and all that stuff.
Because we call our audience slopheads. So what do you guys call your
deservingly
audience?
So. What do we call our audience? Folks?
You don't call them sussheads?
Sussheads is good. What's up, susses? Sussheads?
Yeah, because the D's in there, like at the end, right? Like, so, yeah.
Yeah. There was, at Shucks, they were called our version of, because PAX has enforcers. We called our volunteers paragons, which I thought was pretty good.
That is really nice.
I mean, I guess technically your supporter title depends on what tier. Like the top one is that you're just a wizard, I think. So you just get called a wizard, which is pretty cool.
I love the idea of being called a paragon for volunteering at a convention. You could also call them shuckers. Shuckers?
That's good. Mm-hmm. That works really well for Shucks, especially.
Yeah.
What's up, shuckers? What's up, mother shuckers? Like,
come to the Shuck Festival.
Yeah, this is all very important.
You mother shuckers.
Find a great way of continually insulting your audience. That's my advice for board game content creation. Just find a way of giving them a pet name that you can call them.
Not to pin it down too much, but like, would you say it's like 60%, 70% of the revenue is from the Patreon?
Yes, I'd say that it's like over half.
Wow.
Of what makes up our actual percent. Like the ad revenue for our channel is still not great. Like it is, we make money from our videos, but they do not make enough to sustain a business on. It is the main sources of of what keeps us like going is stuff like the Shucks events / Board Games Direct, and donation revenue is what keeps us afloat as a site. And again, like that balance can change over time. Like we have seen big dents in that come in when stuff in the world has happened, and rightly so to some extent. Like I'm kind of glad that our donation revenue went down when stuff happens in the world. I'm glad that people don't feel obligated to keep us alive when we do have the option of taking sponsorships to keep ourselves afloat.
Yeah. When the entire like world supply chain economy crashed, you don't mind being first on the chopping block, all things considered.
Exactly. Yeah, we are obviously we are the most essential workers, but
no one's more essential than the content creators. That's
no one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a nice position to be in where I feel like the audience understands that is the kind of the trade-off or the balance. And I think that broadly, like, I feel that there is a certain point in which YouTube begins churning out a huge amount of ad revenue, but we only switched adverts on our YouTube videos because we sort of had to, because YouTube started to prioritize videos with adverts because of course it was. It's how they make money.
Right.
And so that was why we switched them on in the first place, was because it was like, well, our videos are doing terrible and algorithmically because YouTube says we don't want to serve people things that don't have adverts attached. And that's the same where they have exactly the same situation with mid-roll adverts that go in the middle of your videos. I think at the moment we occasionally experiment with putting a mid-roll ad in, and the video does drastically better as a result.
Interesting. Yeah.
YouTube is a platform that wants to advertise, and so you have to bow to it to some extent, which is frustrating.
Yeah. It'd be funny if it does better because there are more comments complaining about mid-roll adverts. You know what I mean? Like it's like the engagement is just driven. Oh man, yeah.
I really enjoyed there was like a sort of conspiracy theorist messaging or on some platform. I think it was probably Reddit. If it's going to be anywhere, saying that they thought that Shut Up and Sit Down purposefully got rules wrong in the videos to drive algorithmic engagement. And buddy, I wish that was true.
I sometimes wonder about that, not with your guys' videos per se, but like sometimes like there's a guy, he's like a magic content creator that he's been around for a long time, MTG Goldfish, and he always mispronounces cards, and it's so egregious that it started to make me wonder, he must just be doing that on purpose, but I don't know that he is. Like, you know, it seems it seems like it would be too difficult to even like purposefully, you know, design your life that way.
That would be that would be so beautiful if like one of the if we found out from like, you know, hard data that the reason that Shut Up and Sit Down initially took off was because we just got rules wrong all the time in videos was the key driver to the success of the channel. It would be a beautiful irony. I really hope that is the case.
Yeah. It's fascinating that you say so much of the revenue is from the patrons percentage wise, you know, and I won't necessarily make you reveal exactly how much you're getting paid, how much the channel makes or whatever, but unless you want to. But and I've noticed other channels that I just wouldn't expect that it would be someone's full-time job. And I'm wondering if it's always that behind the scenes, they just have Patreon dollars coming in, or maybe they're more ad friendly than you guys are. I don't know what it is, but it seems like that does seem like it's like the minimum for YouTube success is 30,000 or more views on release.
It very much feels like there's a few. I feel like the two pervading kind of like models are the kind of small, which I would still consider us on the small end, because we are like in the grand scheme of YouTube, we are minuscule. And I feel like that model is like almost the views of an individual video you're relatively agnostic about, because once you reach that certain break point, as long as you're getting that much of an audience to the audience that loves it, as long as that audience really loves it, then you will make enough via the Patreon or via your donation channels to not have to necessarily worry a huge amount about how an individual video performs. Like, I look at the numbers on videos as like, well, how much can we grow the audience? That's a luxury to have, but the most important thing is, are we making the core audience happy? And that means that the thing we make is very consistent and gives people a bit of joy, which is nice. But then there's the other model is the kind of, we talked about Veritasium earlier or whatever. I don't necessarily think that channel has a thriving Patreon ecosystem, because their model is, you know, get clicks and juice YouTube ad revenue and juice sponsorship revenue, which is, you know, another way of doing it. But I think that's only accessible to when you reach that critical mass of 1 million views per video, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which I don't think we ever will, but
really?
as a channel, like we've got a couple videos in the catalog that have hit that big number. They've hit 1 million, but again, 1 million just feels tiny in the grand scheme of things. On a really bizarre tangent, are you aware of the British YouTuber KSI?
I've heard the name, but I don't know them.
He's not great. He kind of represents that sort of sphere of like algorithm chasing content that is just about.
Oh yes. Yeah, I've seen these. Sorry.
Yeah. Basically, there's this bizarre. This is going to be a very, very long way of getting around it, but it's a fun bit of Shut Up and Sit Down trivia, because Matt used to work in the video games press, and he made a video ages ago where he basically said that it was strange that KSI, this YouTuber whose at the time most recent video was kind of this quite grotty sexist video where he was like going up to women in public and basically groping them. KSI had made that video and yet was for some reason helming an Xbox family gaming event. And Matt rightly made a video that was like, what's going on here? Why is this guy doing this? He's not a family entertainer. These videos are grim. And then KSI's legal team got in touch with Matt and they had this whole back and forth or whatever that eventually went nowhere, but it existed. But then later down the line, KSI made a rap video called Lamborghini, and the chorus for Lamborghini or the verse or something goes, it's like, la, Lamborghini. Matley's Can You See Me in my Lamborghini.
Oh my God.
So he's dropped it. It's one of the most like bizarre, like I couldn't believe that it's actually
just the fact
real.
That that Matt of all people is in a KSI diss track, and it's like such a punching down move where it's like cool, bro. Like what?
But we were really,
of course,
we were really laughing about this and being like, this is ridiculous. This is one of the strangest things. It's so odd. And specifically, we were saying, isn't it hilarious that like, because that video was made a while after this whole, minor beef happened. And we were like, oh, it's so funny that Matt's like rent free in KSI's head or whatever. But then my friend looked at the views on that video and then said, and just sent me the most devastating WhatsApp message, which is, lol, this video has more views than your entire YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
And it's just that but it was such a crushing moment, but also kind of freeing in that weird way. That's like, I think that the board games hobby almost as a whole is like this tiny blip on a KSI diss track video. It just represents this very, very small thing. And it's kind of freeing in a weird way, because it means that I just began to care so much more about the audience that does exist in front of us, rather than this kind of abstract, large YouTube audience that cares about slop.
That's just going to like eat up, rich people doing absurd things to poor people. Like, you know. What's the name of the song? Just out of curiosity, if you can remember.
Lamborghini. It's just called Lamborghini, and it's like one of the verses is like Lamborghini. Matley's Can You See Me in my life? It is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. It's so bad.
What I really needed to know is if it is in the Genius Lyrics annotations for this.
It is. It is actually.
That's wonderful for you guys in a weird way.
It's such a bizarre little tidbit, but it really, really made me laugh. I honestly didn't believe Matt until I went and watched the video, and then it was crazy.
Oh my God, yeah, I can see it now. Okay, well, yeah, if assuming Matt wants that in this show, I'll probably put a link at least to the Genius Lyrics annotation, so it like takes you right to the annotation, because they even have a picture.
They have a picture of Matt looking incredibly My Chemical Romance, dare I say, in that picture.
He looks really good. Yeah, he's giving Blue Steel. Like,
he really is. Very severe.
Yeah. Well, we've been at it for a while, so I think we can probably wrap it up here soon. I know we didn't actually really get into exactly like, how do you become a successful YouTuber? But I think there were some good insights there. It sounds like the moral of this episode, if you will, is stay true to your audience, number one, right?
Yeah, I think that it's a strange thing to come at, almost because it is a channel that I have become a part of, and I have a huge amount of respect for the audience that has been built up over time, and the audience that exists now is just it's a delight to be in the position to create for that audience. But it also means that I think the advice that I have is not necessarily actionable for a small creator getting into the board game sphere. Like quite recently or earlier this year, I got asked to do something very similar at this event in Berlin for Spiele des Jahres, and I just found myself kind of at a loss for what to say, because I feel like Shut Up and Sit Down Success is this sort of strange and wonderful fluke in the world of the board game content creation industry, which I think I'm gladly being proved wrong by like other people who are doing really like brilliant stuff, like, no pun included, are going from strength to strength and receiving algorithmic rewards for doing so, which is great. I think they hit 100,000 recently, which is great for them, because I think their stuff is really fantastic. And similarly, I do see these weird things happening where like very big channels will occasionally dip their toes into board games. Like they'll do a Blood on the Clock Tower thing, or like Flip 7 was getting some traction from like a few big virally channels, and like Dropout did their board game series called like Parlor Room or something. And so I think there is now increasingly this room for growth within the industry that's kind of simmering as board games kind of hit this point where they are being a bit more widely adopted. You see more kind of quote unquote hobbyist games in people's houses. So who knows, really? I feel like if people came to this episode desiring a 10-point plan of how to become board games successful, I can't give it. But I think that there are increasingly, the interest is there for people to get started at least. There's this kind of, and this is a thing that I think broadly comes up quite a lot, of this idea, especially that when Shut Up and Sit Down started, it had this vast reservoir of like games to go back to and look at and kind of appraise, or uncover this kind of hidden hobby to some extent. Whereas now it's a little bit more known, and we've kind of gone through quite a lot of older games, or they're no longer in print or no longer available, and its aims as a site have changed substantially, where we can't necessarily do your shelf-stable thing of looking back and finding old games because they might not even be in print. And now people get really frustrated when the thing that is on the channel, they can't buy it. So the aims of the site have kind of subtly shifted over time.
Just like I'm just like pulling my collar, just like, okay, well, people get frustrated when they can't buy the stuff you're yapping about, huh?
There's also actually this interesting thing now where like I think someone made a comment to me at PAX where I was saying, unfortunately, there was some game, and I said, unfortunately, I don't think we'll cover it just because it's not available right now. And then they said something to the tune of, well, it could be if you covered it. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. It's kind of reached a point in which, you know, getting 100,000 views or whatever, which is kind of our, like, each video kind of equalizes out at 100,000 eventually. It's like, if we get to that point on a video, is that enough to consider like a publisher republishing something? And the answer is probably yes, which is where kind of Shut Up and Sit Down Presents kind of reared its head and is changing how I might think about covering stuff in the future, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's like, it's a really neat thing, I think, to be someone who's like, it kind of goes back to your roots in a way, curation. You're a content creator. Now you have almost like a leverage with your audience where, assuming that your audience agrees with you, you can highlight a classic game that just, you know, is in desperate need of being brought to a new audience. And by your highlighting it, not only will you kind of get all the old fans of the game to pour in their love and support for a reprint, but then, you know, CMYK goes, that, you know, the market testing is already done, you know, and then they go reprint it. Do you foresee, I guess, Shut Up and Sit Down going somewhat in that direction where you're curating games and sort of trying to help get it into the hands of more people? And sort of, or do you feel as if that would tie your hands too much as reviewers, that you would almost, you know what I mean? Like you're selling out to people that are just begging you to help them get their game off the ground in other markets.
It's something that we're kind of constantly thinking about where the line is, because even with something like Dogs of War, which we're doing the Shut Up and Sit Down Presents reprint of with Taylor Z, like that's something that has thrown up questions of like, well, how do we, you know, cover Paolo Mori games going forward now that we have worked directly with him on a game, bringing a game back? It is an ongoing question mark. I don't know where it ultimately leads with the site. I know that with Presents, we wanted a bit more hands-on kind of actual control over the games themselves, which has led to quite a rewarding creative process there. But unfortunately, as is the theme with a lot of this section of the episode, I don't really know. One of the main like stumbling blocks for me on making videos for Shut Up and Sit Down is just like self-confidence as far as actually getting them out the door. And I feel that there's kind of a critical mass point where I become confident enough in the work that I'm making where I can free up a bit more time to go and do other stuff. And one of the things that I would really like to do, if I could get over that hurdle, is I'd love to spend more time at like PAX or other conventions going around Unpub and seeing if I can like source some things and try and use our audience to get a weird game into more people's hands. Right now, there's not much scope for that, but I'd love for that to exist at some point on the channel because I feel like publishers like safe bets, and I feel like we as a channel really like weird stuff. And so how do we get more of that out there? Well, let's go and do it ourselves or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for 2030 when I get my act together and we start doing that.
Maybe you almost need you need to subsidiarize yourself, where you create Brewster's Brews and it's a .com, and you just, you list unpublished games and you say like, give this one a look,
Give this a try, publisher.
Yeah, it's a little side channel. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll review it if you pick it up. That's the that's the pipeline right there.
Okay, well, I think I am going to have to just sort of wrap things up here for time more than anything else. But what can we say, right? There's two things to keep in mind. One, just intern at that giant YouTube channel that you really respect. That seems to be the easiest way to get paid doing YouTube. and then outside of that, or in addition to that, be true to your audience. Don't chase the algorithm, because that will only make you rich, and being rich is a huge bummer, I think.
Yeah, great, really beautifully summarized. I love it. It's perfect.
There you go. That'll do it for this week. Thank you so much to Tom Brewster for being on this episode. Really appreciate you filling in for Kenny here. And we didn't say this at the top, but the reason you're here is because Kenny is on paternity leave with the show. His second child was born recently with no complications.
Woo! Congrats, Kenny.
And of course, his partner and their family. I don't know if they really want me dropping all their names, but I'll just leave it at that. Thank you as well to Michael, Tyler, Devin, and Josh of the Boise Rainbows for your sweet segue music that we actually used this episode. First guest episode that had the Rainbows music.
Hell yeah.
Bonehouse. And thank you to Bonehouse for letting us use your song Raw as our opening theme. And then you want to read Kenny's part? Do your Kenny impression
sure
again?
I do. I can't do that. I have not got the Kenny in me. If you're loving the cast,
do your Jeff Probst impression. I really like.
How does he sound? What is he like? Come on in, guys. He says that a lot.
That's so good. Kenny loves Survivor, by the way, so this will be really good.
He'll be delighted by the fact that I've only watched. So I'm in the early 20s. No, I haven't got to season 20 yet. I'm in the teens of Survivor, and every time I say to someone, they're like, "Oh, hell yeah, you're in the best part." It's like when I told people the other day that I watched the first Lord of the Rings movie for the first time, literally 5 days ago. And they were just like, "Oh my God, to watch it for the first time." So maybe Kenny will get a kick out of me being a Survivor novice. Anyway.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
If you're loving the cast, share it with a friend or on Reddit or on BGG. You can also reach out to us directly at shelfstablecast@gmail.com. All of this and more will be available in the show notes. If you like what we're doing and want to make more of it happen, consider subscribing to us on Patreon. You'll get access to bonus content and Discord. Is that a good American accent?
That was so fucking good. Thank you everyone for listening. We're gonna leave it at that. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Good night, everybody.
Hold on, wait. I literally almost forgot. This is why I need Kenny on the show. Kenny, we need you. Next week's episode is going to feature another special guest while Kenny continues his paternity leave. We're going to talk to Taylor. She's been playing all the 100 board games on the top 100 list. So we're going to get her thoughts as a fresh first-time experiencer of the top 100.
That is
tune in next week.
Quite the task. Hear that. I'm excited to listen. I'm excited to listen.
Awesome. Tom Brewster will be there, so you better be there too.
Yeah, get in here.
He won't be there on the show. He'll be listening. Just to be clear.
All right.
All right. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.